A fullback occupies the wide defensive positions of a back four. The term originally comes from the 2-3-5, where the fullbacks were the two deepest positions defensively, closest to the goalkeeper. They were fully back, as opposed to the halfbacks who occupied the next line. As the systems in football evolved and the back four was formed as a defensive unit, these outside players retained their name and their numbers. In England, these are traditionally 2 and 3, but these numbering systems vary across world football, especially for the right back. In a traditional 4-4-2, width came from the wide midfielders or wingers, and so the onus on fullbacks was largely to provide defensive cover against the opposition wingers, and play the ball forwards to them in the wide areas, or more directly towards the space in front of them for a striker to peel wide and pick up. However, in the last few decades, fullbacks have become increasingly important in an attacking sense, largely because formations became narrower further up the pitch. In a 4-3-3 or a diamond midfield shape, there is little natural width. This means that there is no player who naturally finds themselves towards the touchline for crossing or being a receiving option out wide. Fullbacks took on this role. Good examples are Cafu and Roberto Carlos in Brazil's 2002 World Cup side, or Liverpool's Andy Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold. Inverted fullbacks also push up to assist with build-up, but unlike the more traditional attacking fullback, they do not do so in the wide areas, but rather come inside towards the middle of the pitch. They make a second line in front of the centre-backs, usually flanking a defensive midfielder, and this is where inverted comes from, not simply the idea of playing a right-footed player at left-back or vice versa. Pep Guardiola is usually credited with this innovation while at Bayern Munich, where he used Philippe Lahm and David Alaba as inverted fullbacks. It's also worth noting Marcelo Bielsa's use of Arturo Vidal for Chile at the 2010 World Cup, where he pushed up and in during build-up play alongside two defensive midfielders to make a three-man line. Now, the reasons for doing this in a possession-based team are fourfold. Firstly, by inverting the fullbacks and pushing them up and in to create a second line, which allows a team to resemble a 2-3-2-3 or the old 2-3-5, the central midfielders are covered and able to push higher, playing as 8-10s who can play in between the lines and precipitate attacking moves and provoke opposition uncertainty, but crucially while being covered. Secondly, this cover also allows a team compactness in the centre of the pitch, which means that should the ball be lost there, with two fullbacks and a defensive midfielder in place, the team can press effectively. This means the line doesn't only offer cover, it creates a numerical superiority which aids winning the ball back. This numerical superiority also helps in build-up, which is the third reason. Before the central midfielders push high, it's likely that the team will have significantly more players in the middle areas of the pitch, the part that Guardiola always looks to dominate, and therefore many more passing options. And lastly, it can open up the wide areas. If the opposition wide midfielders or wingers tuck inside and follow the fullbacks to mark them, they cannot double up to assist their own fullbacks. It can also allow the team to shift the ball quickly to the opposite side where a channel is very open for attacking. Like any system, there needs to be flexibility. Inverted fullbacks need to be able to assess the game conditions and adapt. Otherwise, the centre can be clogged up against teams who sit back in a low block, and the lack of an overlapping runner can force the team's midfielders to run wide instead, leaving the centre too open higher up the pitch. But that's why this sort of system is used by teams like Bayern or Manchester City, who have access to intelligent and flexible footballers who can make those decisions. Used well, inverted fullbacks can facilitate extreme attacking pressure while also shoring up the defensive structure, allowing teams like Guardiola's Bayern or Manchester City to dominate possession and pin teams in their own half to devastating effect.